The Harper Conservatives like to boast about their excellent economic credentials. Keep them in power, they say, and Canada will prosper. Listen to this.
We have emerged from the worst global economic downturn since the Great Depression with an economy that is, make no mistake, the envy of the entire world.
Wow, how incredible. The best economy in the world? But for most families, it doesn't feel that way. High unemployment, precarious work, record personal debt. If we're really the best, why are so many Canadians struggling? And why are economists now worried we've slipped right back into recession? So at Unifor, we decided to investigate the economic reality to see if it matches this gung-ho rhetoric. First, we picked out 16 key variables describing Canada's overall economic record. Hardcore statistics, the things you read about in the business pages. Then we found historical data for every one of them, from 2014 all the way back to the end of the Second World War. We reviewed every Prime Minister who served at least one full year since 1946. So we included Mackenzie King, Louis St. Laurent, John Diefenbaker, Lester B. Pearson, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Brian Mulroney, Jean Chrétien, Paul Martin, and, of course, Stephen Harper. So how did they actually stack up? The results are pretty surprising. Let's take just one example, exports. Everyone knows that Conservatives believe in trade, right? After all, they sign lots of free trade deals. But how did Canada's exports actually perform under their leadership? This shows annual growth in exports of goods and services adjusted for inflation. They expanded under every Prime Minister, right through the post-war era. And here's Stephen Harper. Ouch! Hardly any growth in exports at all, over 8 long years. The worst performance in post-war history. So Conservatives talk about trade, but they don't deliver. And now Canada has the worst trade deficit in history. That's just one indicator. Our whole study looked at 16. Job creation, worst since 1946. GDP growth, worst. Business investment, second worst. Productivity, second worst. Personal incomes, second worst. Labor force participation, worst. Unemployment, fourth highest. Household debt, worst. And more. Then we gave each Prime Minister an overall grade based on their average ranking across the 16 variables. The Harper Conservatives were not on top. In fact, they were dead last. They ranked 8.05 out of the worst possible score, 9. They weren't even close to the next worst Prime Minister. Internationally, the hard numbers also tell a different story. We reviewed OECD data on employment and GDP growth adjusted for population. Germany did much better than us. So did Korea, Australia, Poland, Switzerland, Turkey, Norway, and many, many others. Canada actually ranks in the bottom half of OECD countries for both job creation and GDP growth adjusted for population since 2006. And if we are indeed back in recession, we'll fall even further. The government blames all our problems on outside forces, but their own policies made things much worse. Attacking workers and wages, downsizing public services, and a disastrous failure to stimulate investment and exports. So they've been boasting about their excellent economic credentials, but the economic reality is the exact opposite. Our economy performed worse under Stephen Harper than any other government in our post-war history. It's definitely time for a change. Please read our full report at unifor.org.